welcome to One Bite at a Time, the show for people who want to change themselves and change the world. We discuss health, fitness, diet, discipline, routine, mindfulness, and how all of these trainable skills work together to help you to improve your life so you can be happy, healthy, and live in a way that isn't harming others. I'm Emery.
And I'm Josh. And today we're discussing habits and how to build them.
So today we're using a new framework for building or breaking habits. This is from James Clear's Atomic Habits. And James Clear is a habit expert with more than 1 million subscribers to his weekly newsletter about habits. And you can find him, we'll link below to his website and to the book as well, but we'll discuss that extensively. One of my favorite things is some of his bona fides as a habit builder is in his about page. He lists his deadlifts, his squats, and his other weightlifting 1 rep maxes.
So I saw his numbers, and I love weightlifting. I do a lot of weightlifting. I'm like really against like people doing steroids, and so like I know what real numbers look like per like most people's bodies. And I saw his workouts, and I saw him working out, and I was like, okay, he's legit. Like he does like a high bar back squat. He can definitely squat more than me, but I did see his deadlifts, and I've got him in the deadlift, so I don't feel that bad.
Win some, lose some. That's just
Yeah.
perfect.
Well,
Well,
I have a mechanical advantage for deadlifts. I have really long arms and a short waist.
I will take your word for it. I assume that if I do deadlifts, it will be hard then. I think I have a long waist.
Yeah, long legs. Long legs don't help.
Yeah.
You have to pull the
Yeah.
bar higher. Anyhow,
Well,
yeah, he's legit. He's got really good lifts, really good technique. So I was impressed.
yeah. Well, he is on top of being a habit expert, was a collegiate athlete, and we're going to talk a little bit more about his story right now for our bite of the day, our little tidbit of an episode. If you want to listen to just this and nothing else, we hope you'll get a good chunk of knowledge and experience out of this. So James Clear's story starts at the end of his sophomore year of high school. He's playing baseball, and he sort of is playing on the field, and next thing you know, he's looking up at people asking him what's going on, what year is it, what's happening, and lo and behold, the batter swung, and the bat swung out of their hands and went straight into James's face, and he got a major concussion, shattered eye sockets, skull fractures, broken nose, brain swelling, concussion. Got the answers to all of those questions wrong, and so had seizures and was finally finally put into a medically induced coma. So after this, he's recovering. He's a sophomore in high school. He's a teenage guy. He's formerly a super successful athlete, and now has double vision, has to learn how to walk straight. He's cut from the varsity team. In short, he's devastated. And so the next couple years are really rough for him. And then in college, he gets into a new environment, and he decides to take full control of his life and to completely reset. So he puts first things first. He starts focusing on getting healthy, having good sleep habits. And so one of the things he's doing, he's making his bed, he's staying neat and tidy. He's starting to build these little victories. These, what we're talking about here, one bite at a time. He's building these habits to teach himself that he's capable of making change, that he's capable of doing these things. And we'll see here in a second that he does this exceptionally well. And this is why we're talking about him today. So he goes from learning how to walk straight, being cut from the team, to getting straight A's. By the end of the second year of college, he makes pitching. He becomes team captain. He makes all conference. And then by the end, his senior year of college, he's the top male athlete at his school. He's an ESPN academic All-American, one of 33 in the nation. He's got 8 school records, and he's getting awarded the university's highest academic honor. So not only is he performing on the field physically, but he's also performing academically, and presumably his room is really tidy, which is awesome. Um, and so this is when he realizes this value. He really starts putting in this work to talk about habits. And after this, he starts to write and to share what he's learned, a little bit like what we're hoping to do. Though he is leaps and leaps and bounds ahead of us, and his book is the best that we've read so far.
Yeah, I wanted to the one thing I wanted to talk about his story was the neuroplasticity aspect of like his healing. Because one of the things that I think that um it really goes to like show you the depth of the brain's ability to not just like heal itself, but also to like rewire when you're wanting to change stuff. And like your brain gets wired kind of not like it's not
Well,
really a
first,
conscious.
can
Go
you
ahead.
back up it? What is neuroplasticity?
Oh, sorry. So neuro is like neurological, and that has to do with the brain, and then plasticity is plastic. So the idea of this kind of portmanteau, these two words together, is your brain is like plastic, and it can be formed and melded. And I just realized I put my arm on my pen this whole time. um in any event, the brain's ability to change and adapt in its environment, I mean, of course, when you think about it, human beings have experienced vastly different environments, and they experience different environments throughout their lives, and our brains have to change and adapt for them. Our brains are a whole bunch of neural complexes that kind of democratically vote, I guess, for
Hmm.
like when for like the more attention you give different areas, the better you'll get at those skills. And like then your brain like folds in, and like if you only do math, you get more and more math, neurons, and more like problem solving. If you only do certain other activities, you can kind of see where people's brains will change. You can also see this in people who have like sociopathic tendencies from trauma. If they do a lot of work on experiencing emotions and learning how to experience new emotions, you can actually see the emotional part of like the part of your brain that experiences emotions grow, which is really wonderful for people who've experienced a lot of trauma, because that's commonly correlated with criminal behavior.
Oh.
So so your brain has this wonderful ability to, the more that you want to change part of it, if you can be a little bit conscious of the process to do that, and get like good information on how to do that, it is possible to change those. One really, really quick note is, um, in the discovery of neuroplasticity, scientists were trying to figure out how to get people who had inner ear problems balance, and they put an accelerometer and an electrode under people's tongues, and they were able to train people's brains from, it's called whirlers, is the, I don't know the medical term, but the term for people who are like always out of balance because their inner ear structure is messed up. They did that, and they were able to, over a course of a few weeks, retrain the brain, retrain the brain's ability to keep balance. And then even after they took that accelerometer and the neural stimulation, the neural stimulator that they placed under people's tongues out, those people had better balance afterwards. So,
Hmm.
neuroplasticity, not only will it help change your brain, like you can change your brain, those changes will persist so long as you don't do anything to like massively disrupt it. Because
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the neurological term for one of those big things that we're talking about. What we talked a little about last episode with goal setting is that you kind of become what you do and what you think, and so we want to uh, lead in here and remind yourself, yes, you can overcome these awesome things. You can, if you set your mind to it, you can become the academic All-American and the all-star athlete at the same time if you really start to build yourself up over time. But you also have to be careful. It's a double-edged sword. if you start to reinforce in yourself that you're bad at things, if you're any one way, that will also be rewired in your brain. One example that I want to really work on with this is I would always say, I'm bad with names. That's oh, hi, great to meet you. I think I've met you before. I'm so sorry, I'm bad with names. And that's reinforcing in my mind every time I do that, that's just who I am. I am a person who's bad with names. And that's a choice that I'm making every time. And so that's one of those little things that I'm personally going to be working on moving forward, trying to implement some of these new things I've learned from the Atomic Habits, James Clear's book.
I
But
I make up a little song whenever I meet people. That's my mnemonic device for remembering names.
how long is your song? Real quick.
Like I think yours was like Emery Bobimbi B Bob Bemry Emery. That was literally it. And like
That
I
sounds
met
very familiar. That sounds very familiar to me.
yeah, it's like a kid song. And then it's like one they used to make fun of people with in school. I don't think I
Yeah.
got bullied that way, but no, and then if like there's a show or like a TV character or if it rhymes with something, I'll do that one. But sometimes the rhyming ones I'll remember the word that rhymes with it and then I'll call them that word. That's bad.
Uh, uh, I'm going to try that. I'll keep that in mind for next time I'm out meeting new people. But
It's a mnemonic device.
yeah, let's so this moves us to our next section, our call out corner. Um, one of the things we want to focus this time is our goal is to be under 45 minutes for this episode. So what else we got for the call out corner, and then what else do we have going forward today, Josh?
So I think that there's two kind of very specific things for the call out corner, which is a little bit more structure. So I think last episode we were particularly freewheeling and that was fun, but not all of our subscribers may think that's fun. So we want to be more structured and have a little bit less rabbit trails. The other thing is the OBAT blog, the long promised but not yet delivered blog will be starting this week. We will have the first couple blog posts out. I'm going to do an introduction about myself, an introduction about the blog, and then we're going to catch you guys up kind of as the week goes on for some of the little stuff that we've gone through that needs a little bit more fleshing out that, I think is going to really deliver value to people who are wanting to change their life, change themselves, see kind of what the things are that are going to be like the most helpful. So yeah, that's those are all going to go in there. If you have suggestions, subscribe, send us an email. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, comment below. Call out corner is where we will respond to you in the next episode. But for today, we're doing more structure. We're going to move on a little quickly here. Real quick to clarify, the blog is obat.live, obaat.life, not obat.live, obat.life, obat.life. There'll be a link below. And when you are listening to this, when you're watching this, it will be live. You can check that out, get some of those resources that Josh was just talking about. So that brings us into the meat of the episode today. What's our main goal for today? What's our big chunk of meat in the middle?
Well, today's main chunk is going to be building new habits. And I think this is a cool episode because it's kind of the other side of the coin of Judd Brewer's stuff. So Judd Brewer breaking bad habits, James Clear building good habits.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about James Clear has ways for breaking bad habits as well, that have some benefits here compared to Judd Brewer's from a different perspective. But yeah, I like that, looking at it as a different side of the coin. We talked about breaking habits before, now the sort of different way of building them. And last time we talked about goals, but there's this one line that really stood out to me from Atomic Habits, and you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And any simplified sentence like this is going to be a little bit simplified. But the fact of the matter is, that's what we're training for. Our goals are what we're aspiring to be on our days when we're ready, what we're working toward, what we're ready. But what we're building is those systems so that on the days when we don't want to do the push-ups, we don't want to make our bed, when we don't want to eat healthy or follow our diet or whatever, that we fall to that level of, this is our habit. This is just what clicks. This is just what we do. We don't have to think about it. And that's this is James Clear's definition of a habit. It's a behavior that has been repeated enough times to become automatic. And so that's what we're working toward building here, is things that you can just go through and do on your own. So, Josh, do you have any daily habits? What are some behaviors that you've repeated enough times to become automatic, good or bad?
Crying into my pillow for long. No, I'm kidding. My daily habits are actually pretty sparse, and that's something that like I will be writing about this journey that I'm taking for like really being more mindful about my habits, mindful about my routines, and then like what I'm doing to deal with like maintaining those because yeah, to be honest, it's been a pretty big struggle throughout my life to maintain good habits. It would just be like there would just be like this cycle of I'd get like a morning routine. I would have like a couple of the things I would do, and then I would just stop, and then I would find myself just kind of waking up, throwing clothes, running to work, getting there late, always stressed, always kind of, and then just never having those like periods where your brain is like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm comfortable with this.
Mhm.
So yeah, the last week after your suggestion of make your bed, which I do have a habit of making my bed. It's not always, but it's like it'll randomly happen between the hours of 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. So today I woke up, as soon as I got up, I made my bed, folded everything, arranged the pillows just the way that they looked nice. And yeah, for the rest of the day, I look over and I'd be like, ah, hey, there it is. Like that's my house is clean. The other thing I did is I hate having a dirty kitchen. And so for me it's really important, like as soon as I cook, like I try to clean up the kitchen like as I'm cooking, like clean as you go. And then at
Mhm.
the end, I'll eat the food, I'll clean the dish, I'll put it in the dishwasher, and then my kitchen's clean. And that like that the clean room, the clean kitchen, like once that happens, like it just feels like so much better. So today was perfect. Today the habit was make the bed, do some of the other morning stuff, eat food, cook, eat some breakfast, clean the kitchen. Everything was good, and then I went straight into getting my work done, and that was great.
And how to feel?
Yeah, it felt great. So we're going to talk about James Clear's habit building structure, but I made myself coffee, and then I was like, I'm going to wait until I'm done with cleaning the kitchen to have my coffee. And so then it was like that's going to be my reward. And so
Perfect.
yeah, I got everything done, and then my coffee, I was like trying to hurry too because I was like I don't want to drink cold coffee. So I got everything done. My coffee was hot, and I sat down with like a nice hot cup of coffee, and then I was like, man, I'm ready to get work done. All right.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, the making the bed, I suggested that because that was the first step for me years ago, somewhere in, I think, my last or a couple last years of college. But I always remember much before that, growing up, always having a messy room, uh, arguing very vehemently to people like, no, I have a space for everything. Like it's in a pile over there, and I know where everything is. It's organized. It's just not pretty. We 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 can always make our best excuse to ourselves. But somewhere along the way, I saw something about this and started to make my bed, and then that snowballed into other things. And um, this is another example from the book. This is called the Diderot effect, and Diderot was, I believe, an English mathematician who was messy and just all over the place. He was smart. He had some connections as well, but he couldn't save money. He was messy. It was just a mess. And so one day his daughter is going to get married though, and he's like, I have no money, I have no clothes, like this is terrible. And so he sells some of his work to a patron of some sort, and he gets enough money for the dowry for his daughter's wedding, and also enough that he buys a really nice red robe. And he loves this red robe. And he puts it on and he's wearing it. And he's like, this is luxurious. I'm a king. Wow. And he's looking around his house. He's like, this place is filthy. I don't have any cool stuff here. Like, what is going on? And so from this, he starts to improve his life. He's like, I have this red robe. Like, I need to have the surroundings to match it. And he starts to improve these things. And so that's exactly what happened with me, is that I made my bed in the first place. And it's like, well, this looks nice. I guess I should just put these dirty clothes in a hamper and then put these clean clothes, hang them up. And over time, and a couple of years ago, I met with one of my roommates from my first couple of years of college. And I was like, I gotta ask, when we lived together, was I neat and tidy? Because like now I'm really neat and tidy. Does that ring a bell? And he laughed at me. He was like, what are you talking about, man? You were filthy. Like cleaning the house outside of my room, I a good housemate or whatever, but in my room is a mess in its own place. So that was why I suggested that for you, because it works. Starting simple with these little things that compound.
Well, and I'm one of those people that like once things are messy, it takes so much inertia for me to clean them. But if I just do a little bit to keep things clean, then I will keep things really, really neat and tidy. But once I have to stay on that like balance. Like once I get unbalanced one way or the other, then it's just a cascade of of bad.
Yeah, well, it's that's that neuroplasticity, is that we become what we reinforce.
Yeah.
Um, and so we'll come back to this here in a second, but let's so for James Clear's atomic habits, he calls them atomic habits because they're these tiny little essential building blocks of everything that we do. They're so small that we can miss them. They can seem inconsequential, but they're the building blocks of life, of everything. And he breaks habits down into this four-part loop. You have a cue, you have a craving, you have a response, and then you have a reward. So every habit that you do, whether or not you're realizing it, is happening in these in this loop. So you have a cue, maybe your phone vibrates, then you have a craving, you want to look at the text message, the response is you look at it and you're like, oh, I have this, and then reward is you get a dopamine spike from the reinforcement, and then this cycles, and then over time what happens is that you get the dopamine spike before you get the reward, or before you actually hit the last part of the cycle, because the brain learns to anticipate it, and that effect is actually as strong or stronger than getting an actual reward over time. So cue, craving, response, and reward. So Josh, what are James Clear's 4 laws for adapting to cues, cravings, responses, and rewards? The
Uh,
cue
this
here
is
for
the
building new habits,
make it,
not for
make it
breaking them.
obvious.
Yeah,
Make it obvious. And then make it attractive, and then make it easy, and then make it satisfying.
yeah. So that's make the cue obvious, make the craving attractive, make the response easy, and make the reward satisfying. So um, like we were talking about earlier with your cup of coffee before you're cleaning your house, that's pretty clear. That's the reward. You're looking forward to that, um, and you're getting the reward after you finish cleaning your kitchen. Um, for Q, making it obvious, one of the ones that really stood out to me is design your environment. Most people are living in an environment designed by other people, whether it's their parents or their office, their workspace, the previous tenants that rearranged the furniture in their house, the designers for their refrigerator. And so they're living in a world that has these cues lined out in ways that they didn't choose. You didn't choose. I didn't choose. And so making those cues obvious, design your environment, is that idea of put vegetables at eye level in, if you're trying to eat healthy, put vegetables at eye level in your refrigerator and put the bread and cookies and the soda down below where it's harder to see, these type of things. Setting a habit for a place in your life, whether Josh, I think you have a writing desk, and then I meditate on the way to work as part of my daily habits, these type of different, oh, I'm here, this is what I do. It's automatic.
Yeah, I have an everything desk. It's currently used for everything, but we're getting a writing desk. We just moved, so there was a whole bunch of things that there's a couple of things we haven't gotten yet. The craving part, the like make it attractive, this is like the motivation part of the habit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And for me, I think one of the biggest things I struggle with in like building consistencies is like it's this failure to not use my imagination, because like I do a lot of creative writing. I love creative writing. When I'm gonna write a story, I usually can like see the whole story in my head. Our brains have this wonderful capacity for imagination, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times we just flat don't use it. And so one of the things that I had heard on a podcast, it was Brandon Sanderson, he was talking about when he was first starting writing, he imagined people chasing him down and being like, you have these bills, you have to pay them. And I was like, that's ridiculous. And then so one day I'm sitting in front of my computer and I'm like, I need to write something. And I didn't have any motivation. I was like getting distracted, going to social media. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a moment here. And I imagined my friends being like, why haven't you sent me anything? Why you haven't been writing? What's been up with you? You know, and I just imagine that like feeling of when I hand something to them and I have like I talk about what was inspiring for me, what was like exciting, which part of the story I was writing, like things that I liked about it, that makes me really excited. So I imagine that, and then I imagine like the feeling I have when I procrastinate, which is like the feeling I was having right then of like, oh, what's going on Facebook? Okay, nothing. Why do I own Facebook? I should just
Click,
delete this.
click.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Let's check Reddit. I don't know why I
So
have a Reddit account. I
yeah.
never do anything on Reddit. Like, um,
Except, so
so
actually, there you go. That's a good transition actually for part of the three is the response of breaking bad habits, which is if you want to build them, you make it easy. If you want to break them, you make it difficult. So maybe for Reddit, you could just delete the app and make it a little bit harder to hop on there and then distract you from your excellent writing.
no, absolutely. And then no, so I use that imagination to just take like a moment, and then I imagine the structure of what I'm writing, and then I kind of give myself a little positive self-talk. You know, Josh, you're a writer. When you put sentences together, they make sense. You can do this.
Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely. And that
So, and
feeling helps for you. It makes the experience of the habit of writing attractive, something that you look forward to.
yeah, and it turns writing into something that like rather than being like, oh God, this awful chore, it's me using my brain, and my brain likes to get used. Everybody's brain likes to get used meaningfully and doing something that matters. So use your imagination to give yourself a boost to do things you want to do. And like when you get in those loops of procrastination and those loops of anxiety and depression, like use your brain to, uh help yourself out of them. And also therapy is always good, and you can talk these out with a therapist.
Yeah, so part three, so that's cue, make it obvious. Two, craving, make it attractive. Josh is writing motivation here. And then three, response here. As I mentioned, you want to make it easy. This is why make your bed, do one push-up, read one sentence. You want to make your goals, these systems, these habits that you're building as easy as possible. James Clear.
Yeah, this was the one that I really liked because I currently have like a issue with tendonitis in my ankle. So I have to take a little break from running, but I usually love to go running in the morning. And he was like, just put your sneakers on. Just walk outside the
Yeah,
door. Like just
yeah,
make that first little step and you'll find yourself doing it. You're like way more likely to do it. I
yeah.
loved that suggestion.
I think
So
even less. I think he said the goal becomes, or what you tell yourself is just tie your running shoes.
yeah.
And he calls it the 2-minute rule. Tying your running shoes is considerably less than 2 minutes for most people. And so it's just that very basic, like, oh, my running shoes are already on. And then next thing you know, you've run a mile or something, and you can say, oh, you're starting to see yourself and be, I'm a runner, I'm doing these things, I'm active, I'm fit, starting to rewire your brain for those habits that you want to build. Um, yeah, yeah. Set the goal as low as possible. I am going to tie my running shoes.
And
Excellent.
what about rewards? So what are some of your rewards, Emery? Mine being a cup of coffee. My other one, I have this like protein shake that's chocolate flavored and I love it. And so like
Mhm.
when I work out in my head, I'm like, chocolate protein shake. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. And like that's a good reward for my workouts. Do you have any good rewards?
I was struggling to come up with one here before, because I think for many of my habits, I've been doing them for long enough that they're just sort of have become routine. But one big one is that I've been doing intermittent fasting for about 2 or 3 years now, and the biggest part of that is just that one day a week I do a 24-hour fast from say Sunday night to Monday night, or from Thursday night to Friday night. And so my rewards definitely, and I wasn't doing this for health reasons per se, but really for that discipline of being friends with my hunger, and of just being present and not being dictated. Oh, it's time to eat. I'm going to eat just because that's what I'm supposed to do, or I'm going to eat here because I have to, but I don't like anything that's here. Um, and so when I was fasting, when I started, I was doing from Thursday to Friday. I did that for about a year, and my reward was always a beer and whiskey after work on Friday night. I was like, all right, I made it, break my fast, haha, breakfast. I'm gonna have a shot of Jameson and a Qingdao or a Kirin draft somewhere, meet my friends, go out. Now switching to Mondays, there's a great place, QMax actually, where we birthed one bite at a time. Has a half price vegan food on Mondays, and it's
Oh,
like
you
vegan.
have your favorite salad?
It's vegan junk food. It's quesadillas and burritos
Yeah. No, it's good.
and
It's good.
tacos. So that's my reward. It's like, all right, I did my full fast. I've sat with my hunger. Now I'm gonna crush some tacos and quesadillas and have a margarita with my friends.
That's awesome. That's
It's
awesome.
it's it's
I
rewarding.
think that yeah, I think that the reward part, you can use your imagination, try to find stuff that you like. I think sometimes it can be a little bit of a stretch, but in and of itself, doing a habit is its own reward. A little bit of Nietzsche there, do good for goodness sake. But but you feel good when you create a little bit of structure for yourself and you you use that structure to meet your own goals, and like
Hmm.
that's something for me that's like I I'm really trying to do that more and more in my life. And the older I get, the easier it gets. But I think it's just because, like, I don't know, when you actually take time to focus on these things, it really helps. So
Yeah, well, it's really cool to become the person you want to be, to see that you can change yourself, that you can change your mind, that you can impact the world, that you have control over things, even if
yeah,
it's just your body or even if it's just your perspective. It's really cool for that, and it's great to be able to say, like, I am this type of person, tying these habits to your identity. I'm a person who makes his bed every morning. I'm a person who eats healthy or remembers people's names.
yeah. Well, and that's something that I think is that's a pretty big reward in and of itself. So um yeah, that was I watched a couple videos on James Clear. I did not get a chance to finish his book. I will be finishing his book, so you can expect to be seeing a couple of summaries of some of the ideas in there from me in the blog. I'm excited for that. I really enjoyed his speaking and the way that he relates ideas. He's a very good public speaker. He's
Yeah.
very charismatic, and uh, he's also bald, so I can relate.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You got a little bit of a head start on him, or a lead on him still then, I guess. But yeah, we'll link to his book, his website below, to some of those videos coming up in the blog. We'll also share some of the other habit books that we've read over the years that stuck out
Oh
to us for
yeah,
building things.
he cites a lot of stuff from Charles Duhigg. I've read a
Hmm.
couple of his academic papers as well as his book, The Power of Habit.
Hmm.
That is an awesome book. And then the Seven Habits of Highly Disciplined People. I read that book when I was younger, and I got a lot out of it. I think the a little bit of the part about being someone who's proactive was extremely helpful
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, I think I'm actually about 2/3 of the way through that. I've been working through it, sort of one of the seven habits at a time, for a while, sort of enforcing one at a time. And it's great. I think Atomic Habits is easier to read, to start with, but certainly these other options are great choices, and we encourage you to explore them and to comment with your recommendations below as well, so that we learn together, grow together, and make these changes to ourselves and then to other people, to the world. So we're coming up on our timeline. We're doing great. We're going to have our mindful moment here, our 5 minutes at the end of the episode. As always, you are welcome to hang out and practice this mindfulness with us, or you can log off and we'll see you next time. But mindfulness, if you'll remember, was key for Judd Brewer. You'll see that it's mentioned, it's key for James Clear, it's key for me. It's because you can't solve a problem that you don't know you have. You can't be you can't be aware of you're in the process of doing something if you're not aware of it. It's sort of hard to explain. It's just that being aware of what you're doing. And so, but this is a trainable skill that we have to practice and we have to learn over time. So we have these
One
mindful
of
moments
my
here at the end of our apps.
Oh,
Uh,
that is one of my favorite speeches by the wonderful philosopher whose name I'm going to forget. This is Water by the guy who wrote Infinite Jest. What's his name? Wallace?
oh no, oh no, David Foster Wallace.
David Foster Wallace.
That
Yeah,
book is
don't read the book.
terrible.
Don't read that book, but you should watch the speech What is Water? Cuz he
Okay.
talks about, like, if you don't know what is wrong, then like what's wrong just feels like reality. And like
Hmm.
having someone explaining it to you is like a fish like
Mm.
explaining water
Explaining
to
what
another
is.
fish. Yeah. And it is a brilliant, 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 and amazing speech. But that's one of the things mindfulness has given me. I didn't tell you this at the beginning of the episode, which I should have. Sorry, but I meditated yesterday and I meditated today. I did 5 minutes of like just letting my brain freely associate, and then kind of focusing on my breathing for the last like 3 minutes. And yeah, I realized like I'm like just generally pretty anxious about a lot of stuff that's just happening in the background of my brain. And when I just kind of take time to let myself freely associate stuff, it really, really helps. So
Yeah.
anyhow, that was it.
And that's good. Good for you. You know, you can attach your identity to that and make it easier. I am a meditator. I meditate, and that's you. That's you now. You're a meditator, and you're going to do some more meditation right now. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So today, in the past, we've done our see, our hear, and our feel individually. Again, what we're building here is trainable skills, 3 parts: concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity. So the ability to focus on things, the ability to see where those things are, what they feel like, where they, how big or small these different types of things attach to them, and then if we can't do anything about them, the ability to apply equanimity and growth. But with today, rather than focusing on anyone see or hear or feel, we're going to just practice, like you said, sort of freely associating, letting whatever comes into your mind flow through, and then note. This is a visual thing this is a that's see. This is something that I'm hearing. That's mental talk or a sound around me, or this is something that I'm feeling, whether it's emotional or physical. So let's go ahead and get started on 5 minutes here for our mindful moment. And as always, be mindful of your posture. And you can have your eyes either open or closed. Be sitting, standing. Whatever you're doing is okay as long as you're aware of your posture and what you're thinking. And just let the thoughts come and go. And as you recognize that you're thinking, label with a see, hear, or feel. And then just return to your breathing. Let things continue. And remember that see can be external, the light on your eyelids if your eyes are closed. If your eyes are open, just recognizing that you're focused on something in front of you. Or it can be a vision that you're having inside, a memory, fantasy, something that's happening visually in your brain. That's just see. And for here, that can be obvious things like external, the sound of my voice, train, wind blowing outside your window. Or it can be an internal sound, internal thing that you're hearing, conversation you're having with yourself or someone else. a thought running through your brain. Just call that here and note it and return to your breath. Whatever comes up, just decide whether it's more of a see, a hear, or a feel. Note it, label it, let it go. Turn to your breath. That feel again being weight of your body on the soles of your feet, like pain maybe in your back or an arm, some physical feeling. It can also be an emotional feeling, whether hunger, discomfort, grief. Note it, label it, feel. Recognize that in noting or labeling, you separate yourself from it and return to your breath. And bring yourself back to the present. It's our 5 minutes mindful moment for today. You're welcome, of course, to continue your mindfulness, stay aware, present in what's happening around you. Remember, you can see, hear, or feel whatever's happening. And these are just trainable skills we're building over time. The ability to separate ourselves, to recognize that we are not our emotions or our pain or our experiences, that we can be distinct from them, build that skill out. So practice that, and we'll see you next time.